from the hospital, by aeration, for example. Contamination, the tools, apparatus, whatever, the air, okay, pollution can be acquired by the individuals or those with malignant hematological disorders or receive deferoxamine. This is also a very important point. You know, some patients suffering from iron overload, particularly thalassaemic patients, okay? When they are treated with deferoxamine, they found those entities of patients have the ability to develop mucormycosis. Why? Because you know deferoxamine is iron chelating agent. And this the members of mucormycosis have are iron-philic, prefer iron, okay? Therefore, it has the ability to, or when it's entered the human body, those entity of patients and thalassaemic with deferoxamine, they flare the disease, mucormycosis, okay? In addition, deferoxamine, as such, deferoxamine, it interferes with anti-mucormycosis activity of serum. This is also inhibit the immune response of anti-flaring. For both reasons, we can see deferoxamine play an important role to flaring the mucormycosis in such entities of patients. Now, we come to the most important part of the lecture, which is the clinical manifestations. What are the diseases? I mean, the members of mucormycosis responsible for, starting with rhinocerebral mucormycosis. You know, the major, of course, I categorize the disease according to the importance, according to the predominancy of the symptoms. First one, rhinocerebral mucormycosis. This disease is the most common form of the disease, representing between 1/3 to 1/2 of all cases. It's a big percentage, okay, in comparison with other diseases. About 70% of cases with rhinocerebral mucormycosis, 70% only, okay, it's which is referred to as also the disease, you can say rhinocerebral mucormycosis or craniofacial mucormycosis. Both names are correct, okay? This is found 70% of diabetic patients develop this entity. I mean rhinocerebral mucormycosis. Now, this patient, you see it? I return to the black, yes, this is a black E star. Why it's a blackish? Of course, I will discuss this. I will shift the explanation for this phenomenon. Why it's a blackish in color. This patient suffering from sinusitis in the beginning, the rhinocerebral, of course, by invasion, orbital rocum. The rocum is the rhino-orbital cerebral mucormycosis, is the major entity that's developed by these agents. This is blackish E star of a patient suffering from mucormycosis. Now, this another picture, orbital, starting with orbital, a 45-year-old woman with poorly controlled diabetes mellitus, poorly controlled, okay? DM with facial and periorbital swelling due to zygomycosis. You remember I said zygomycosis is the old name. They updated to mucormycosis. Now she was unable, of course, to open her right eye upon admission. This is aggressive. This is referred to as aggressive mucormycosis in diabetic patients, also uncontrolled diabetic patients. Of course, he infected and he underwent inoculation and removing of the bones of the nails and whatever. Okay, it is because it's the surgical intervention is very important in such entities. It's the treatment with chemical chemotherapy is not easy in such patients. Now, rhinocerebral mucormycosis is increasingly being encountered in patients receiving high doses of corticosteroids. In addition to diabetic patients, also those with high doses of supraphysiological corticosteroid patients also develop this entity, such those also with rheumatological disorders. You know, the rheumatological disorders also can exacerbate the manifestations of mucormycosis in such entities of patients, or of course, as I mentioned previously, those with organ transplantation. Now, the initial presentation is often consistent with what? I mean, what are the symptoms that the patient develop in rhinocerebral mucormycosis? First, of course, sinusitis. He's suffering from sinusitis in the beginning, okay? Then including, of course, facial pain, nasal dripping, unilateral headache, proptosis. Proptosis also, it's associated with the disease and soft tissue swelling. Fever is frequent. Fever is frequent in such, since sinusitis is accompanied mainly with fever. The patients febrile, okay? few information. Of course, you know it's need long time for explaining the symptoms. I turn just few information. I turn to the second disease, which is caused by mucor members, which is the pulmonary mucormycosis. This entity occurs most commonly in patients with profound and prolonged neutropenia. Profound. I said in the beginning, if you remember, neutropenic patients uncommon the disease, I mean mucormycosis in those entities. But those with prolonged, profound neutropenic, they have the ability to develop pulmonary mucormycosis, such as those noted in patients with leukemia or recipients for hematopoietic cell transplant. Patients with diabetic ketoacidosis, we return to those patients, okay, have the ability to develop pulmonary mucormycosis. Now, pulmonary mucormycosis may develop as a result of how it's come, how it's initiated, I mean pulmonary manifestations, okay, by inhalation. Inhalation is spores produced by the microorganism when it's distributed in the air, polluted the air. Pulmonary mucormycosis may develop as a result of inhalation. As I mentioned previously, how it's done? By inhalation, the spores, which is distributed here and there in the air, can be by inhalation. Or another mechanism by hematogenous spreading. That's mean when the microorganism present in the bloodstream, forming fungemia, the blood spores, I mean the spores present in the blood can exceed the lung easily, causing pulmonary manifestations. Two ways for developing pulmonary manifestations. Okay? Now, symptoms include what? I mean, those patients with pulmonary mucormycosis suffering from what? Suffering from fever, of course, febrile, pneumonic patients, of course. They are febrile, dyspnea, okay, and cough. Why here the angio invasion? This is very, very important phenomenon. The microorganism of, I would like to explain the shape of the fungi. It is, we have in general, fungi, we have two forms of fungi, moldiform and yeastiform. This mycorrhizals, I mean, responsible for mucormycosis are moldy, not yeasty. Therefore, it's forming ribole-like, tubular-like structures, okay, which is referred to as hyphae and spores. These hyphae have the ability to invade blood vessels, then it's blocked. Okay, just look like the water hose. When it's plugged with algae, you remember, okay, you know this fact, okay? You cannot, there is no flow of water. Just look like this picture, look like this when the microorganism, I mean the hyphae, invade the blood vessels, plugging the blood vessels. Therefore, the disease is referred to as a black, forming blackish e-scar, which is gangrenous. This is the mechanism of pathogenicity of mucor, okay? How it's occur. Why it's blackish? By the invasion, angio invasion, and blockage of the blood vessels. There is, of course, ischemia will develop. Okay. Now, of course, this is a CT scan of patients suffering from pulmonary. This mass, you can see the mass. This mass of the belong the fungus, and this biopsy, lung biopsy tissue preparation. These are the hyphae. These are the hyphae within the tissue of the lung. Okay, this is belong the member of course, as I said, we have different member. I can't say which genus this belong. This is another picture. This is a chest X-ray for a mass, pulmonary mass, due to the infection with mucor agents. Now, the other disease, which is the third category according to the arrangement of the disease, the cutaneous mucormycosis. This is occurred mainly in immune-competent individuals. Why? Because when they exposed to trauma, particularly those with motor vehicle, okay, or car accidents, they develop the cutaneous manifestation. Why those with vehicle or car accidents? You know, as I mentioned previously, this microorganism is found on decaying materials, on soil, on even paved ways, okay? Then when there is car accidents or vehicle accidents, grazing, crushing, okay, and he maybe be exposed to the source of infection and plantation opportunity and developing, which is the